Why would a Fed say that?
Let me get a shot.
This shit has not been granted.
Let me get a shot, man.
Why would you say that before?
Oh, this is crazy. Freak Millie going down.
Out of the U.S. on Monday.
Freak Diddy, no Diddy going down.
Since, however, despite the raids,
she like a movie.
Attention, remains a free man. He's not under arrest. He's under investigation. The law enforcement source made clear he is free, right, not to do what he wants, but he is aware that if charges come down, we will get him wherever he is.
God damn.
Fuck. If that's a real DHS source, real Homeland Security agent, seems to me they're gonna have no problem indicting him if they have this many victims, and if all they're looking for is, you know, things to corroborate sex trafficking, which is itineraries, moving people across countries, maybe like, you know, instructions to other people like, hey, yo, book her a plane here, this and third, or hey, yo, go get like this drug for the freak off tonight. Like, who knows? God damn. Holy crap.
Glasses is annoying me. Motherfuckers.
Chat, I see you guys, you know, I see all your donations and stuff like that. I'm about to get through reading them.
Right, chat, I see the donations and shit, you know, I'm about to get to in a minute.
Holy crap. All right.
Is Diddy done? Diddy might be done, dog. I don't know, man.
All right.
Homeland Security hit your shit. I can't give him the benefit of the doubt.
Jay Elixir,
but I feel like some people need to still stand up for him. Don't just leave him and they're like, yo.
Plus, have you heard the AI Drake response? I have not heard the AI Drake response. And I do think Drake absolutely 100% will respond to K-Dot soon. No.
I feel like Joe kind of stood up and said some shit. He had a great time at the party. You know what I mean? Say the real. You went to them parties, bro. Say some shit.
It's one thing when this is the biggest and only thing people are talking about in media. Oh, Drake just got dissed by Kendrick. It feels like a pressurized situation that he has to respond sooner than later. We are distracted by this. He could take his time, and I don't think he's going to drop a dedicated diss song. I think he's going to respond on a verse on somebody else's album. Jordan Nestor says, who's going to the freak off tonight? Series finale. Supercharged Tio, thank you for the 10. Says Tyrese is just a freaky pastor, bro. David 3707 says
Tyrese is a freaky pastor.
Law and
nah, that nigga is freaky, yo. Like, that nigga be doing the worst. Are you trying to? No, I'm not.
I said everything we know. We should go there. Who's Meek's lawyer, by the way? Oh. Meek Mill's lawyer speaks on Diddy. What the fuck?
Who better to talk about the high-profile case of Sean Diddy Combs than the attorney who's represented some very high-profile celebrities like Bill Cosby and Meek Mill? Brian J. McMonagle gives his take and advice for Diddy. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime.
Brian J. I don't know what that is.
He's the target. Potentially Combs is happy to get your perspective on this. Brian, thanks so much for coming on. Pleasure to meet you. So I got to just get your overall take on what happened here. I will tell you, first of all, we talked about before the air, we've done stories on Diddy. I was maybe not one of the people that was that shocked when this came down because we were reporting on lawsuits where he was accused of sex trafficking and sexual assault. But to see what happened the other day, what was your reaction to it?
I was shocked. They didn't just come heavy; they came nuclear. Seeing the kind of federal response you saw at the execution of those warrants was stunning. It looked like they were hitting El Chapo's house.
That's why I said video Chapo,
I had the
bro.
same reaction. I mean, I had been looking at it and hearing the allegations and studying some of the lawsuits, but I never thought it would rise to the level of federal intervention, particularly at that level. Stunned. And my initial thoughts were twofold. One is that they're very close to indicting somebody, or two, they had some really hard intel that told them they had to move quickly so they could discover evidence that their information was indicating was either located at one of these residents, but it was stunning in terms of the swiftness and the breadth of it, I must tell you.
Well, listen, I wanted your perspective, too, because it's fresh off the presses yesterday, late yesterday. Diddy's attorney, he's now being represented by Aaron Dyer, released a very long statement on the rapper's behalf. As a defense attorney,
by the way, Kelvin Haynes, thank you for the 50. He says, yo, people don't mention but Diddy's connected to the owner of Zeus, and they paid for his last party. There's rumors that all of the women there are escorts. Really? So
makes sense.
Lemuel Plumber in this? And
hey yo, I don't put it past. Yo, the whole time I'm thinking, yo, how was not Zeus not involved in this, right? Makes sense, right? Now it comes out.
Yo, did you hear the leaked audio of Meek allegedly getting clapped? No Diddy, bro. Like, literally, no Diddy.
Curious your perspective on it. So it says, quote, yesterday, there was a gross overuse of military-level force as search warrants were executed at Mr. Combs' residences. There is no excuse for the excessive show of force and hostility exhibited by authorities or the way his children and employees were treated. Mr. Combs was never detained, but spoke to and cooperated with authorities. Despite media speculation, neither Mr. Combs nor any of his family members have been arrested, nor has their ability to travel been restricted in any way. This unprecedented ambush, paired with an advanced, coordinated media presence, leads to a premature rush to judgment of Mr. Combs and is nothing more.
We're going to pause this to go to, so that's Meek's lawyer, and he's going to give some insight, but we have a former federal FBI agent who's going to comment as well, and apparently they say that no doubt Diddy's going to face charges. So it's not even like, oh, will there be charges?
More evidence may come out. Some I do, some I don't. But we do have an extradition treaty with them. Right now, though, because of the public nature of this, I have a very hard time believing that a country would allow his plane to land with him on it in their country. They don't have to let him land if they don't want to. And so I think that it would be very difficult for him to be able to land in an inhospitable country simply because they don't want him. We do have extradition treaties with more countries than I think people would think. And typically they will send folks back to us as long as we take the death penalty off of the table. And I don't believe that this is a death penalty case. It's Southern District of New York. And so I believe that whether we have an extradition treaty or not with whatever country he may or may not go to.
So she's initially talking about, I believe at first the rumors were like he's in the plane somewhere in the air and he might go to another country. That wasn't true, but let's go to her just kind of analyzing what she's seen and what she thinks gonna happen.
In danger. And so part of me wonders if this was done to stop that and that they will get to the arrest obviously at some point, because, you know, as you mentioned, typically these warrants are served and there's usually an indictment that goes, you know, hand in hand with that at the same time. So in my opinion, it's not unheard of. It's just a little bit unusual. We don't typically see this. Anytime we did raids at the FBI of this nature, we also had an arrest warrant for the individual as well. And so it is unusual, but I don't want to say it's unheard of. And again, I'm just speculating, but part of me wonders if this was still actively being distributed. And if it is, they need to shut that down immediately.
Were you surprised at the response that we saw from Douglas Wigdorf? This is a lawyer for Cassie Ventura and one of the Jane Does in response to reports of this search warrant that was issued on Sean Combs. Now, remember, Cassie Ventura settled with Sean Combs, but the statement says, quote, "We will always support law enforcement when it seeks to prosecute those that have violated the law. Hopefully, this is the beginning of a process that will hold Mr. Combs responsible for his depraved conduct." Now, again, in light of that settlement doesn't necessarily mean you're saying Combs is completely innocent. It's you've agreed to resolve the issue. Doesn't, you know, absolve him of wrongdoing. But to make that statement, I think that's something to be said. Now, again, of course, he's representing someone else that's continually suing Sean Combs. But again, that statement I thought was really interesting. What was your take on it?
Yeah, I thought that statement was interesting. My question about it, though, is did he tip them off? Did he provide them with information? You know, did Cassie Ventura or any of these individuals involved in these civil suits also provide evidence along with that to build this criminal case? Because obviously those two things are separate. So in my opinion, in listening to that statement, it actually sounds like maybe they did. And you know, that's incredible that they did that because I believe that Cassie Ventura was absolutely a victim of pretty horrific things. And if she was able to document all of that and provide evidence, then that absolutely would go to building his criminal case.
It's so crazy to think about this. I mean, again, and I'm not surprised by that connection to New York because I go back to Little Rod Jones and he said he was assaulted at different places, including in New York. So again, what can we expect next to happen as this story develops? And I imagine it's going to develop quite rapidly.
I agree with you. I think it's going to develop quite rapidly as well. I think the next thing that will happen is an indictment of P. Diddy. That's what I think, and that he will be taken into custody hopefully soon at some point. But honestly, I'm not sure. This is, like I said, a little bit unusual, and that there isn't an indictment yet, although I think one may be forthcoming.
What about other individuals? Because remember, going back to one of the lawsuits, there was an allegation there were violations of the TVPA, the Trafficking and Victims Protection Act, big law aimed at fighting against domestic and international human slavery, and they were filing.
They probably hold him.
Action.
Hey, just think about it. They probably keeping him out so he can make a mistake. They probably need something harder.
But you're basically saying these minors are engaging in commercial sex acts. I would imagine that if this is a really big operation, we could potentially see arrests of other individuals connected to the rapper, right?
I agree. I think we will probably see the arrest of one or both of his sons, because I believe that they, based on evidence and cases that we've seen in the past from a civil perspective, they have been allegedly involved in this. But at the same
What?
Damn, his kids
I
might get
really
arrested?
think that his sons was going to skate by. But we keep seeing Justin Combs. Justin Combs, his name is constantly mentioned. We don't see King Combs' name be mentioned.
same time too, I think that there may be a lot of people who have associated with him in his circle that are probably scared right now because they may have had some involvement in this as well. And so in my opinion, I think they will start at the top, obviously arresting Diddy or his sons. And from there, in my opinion, they may try to plea. I don't think he's going to completely avoid jail time or anything like that if he's indicted, but maybe they will try to plead to get names of other individuals that are associated with this. But again, completely my hypothesis, Jesse.
And I'll leave on this. There was reporting, there was an allegation that Combs may have been allegedly harassing Mr. Jones. Witch hunt based on meritless.
You know, with the strike force here, if you need information or if you need evidence, we've got it. And we look forward to cooperating with an investigation that'll clear my client's good name. And I think that's the only way you can read that.
Talk to me about, though, if this gives you any indication about where Diddy is. When I say that is, you know, there was a question of did he leave the country, right? It seems to me if he's somehow cooperating and maybe gave up electronic devices, that he would still be in the country. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
You know, it's hard to tell. I mean, if he had some pre-existing plans, you know, it wouldn't be surprising. You know, a guy with that lifestyle could be anywhere. But I would think it would make sense for everybody, if he's not in the country, for him to get back in the country quickly. Any important matter in your life deserves your attention. If I was advising him, I'd be advising him to come back home, to hold his chin up and to get ready to deal with what's coming. It's probably going to start raining soon for him, and he's going to want to make sure that he makes it clear to everybody he's got nothing to run from and that he won't run from anything. So if he's not in the country, I would expect in short order he will be back in the country without question.
Unless he went to a country that doesn't have an extradition policy. But let me ask you this.
That usually doesn't work out too well.
Oh, no? I mean, again, people were like, oh, my gosh, if he knew the heat was on him, he's just going to go somewhere where he doesn't have to come back. But you don't suspect that's what the case is.
Yeah, it's a small world. I've had some people try that. It doesn't usually work out too well.
Let me ask you this. The idea, and you are echoing, I think, what a lot of other attorneys, legal analysts have said, that it seems charges are about to come down. Now, I will tell you, a lot of people have said that they thought that with a raid, there would be an indictment in conjunction with it. People would be arrested. We haven't seen that. It's been, at the time of this recording, 2 days since the raid. Are you surprised we haven't seen arrests in connection with this, again, what is a purported sex trafficking investigation? And do you think charges are going to come?
On the first question, I'm not surprised. I mean, you know, they usually do it one of two ways. They'll either come heavy and indict immediately, or they're coming heavy to try and secure evidence so they can start a process of putting evidence before a grand jury. I mean, we don't even know if there has been any evidence presented to a grand jury yet. They're the feds. They're not the state courts, and they are not going to indict somebody or charge somebody on somebody's word alone, I can assure you. And so they want to try and develop as much evidence, forensic evidence. You know, they're going to be looking at phones. They're going to be looking at travel. They're going to be looking at corroborating every allegation that's been made in these lawsuits. I wouldn't be surprised if they took their time because they know that they're going to get the best representation in the world for the celebrity, and they're not going to look to want to lose. And so, you know, they're very interesting in how they operate.
Let me see how the Breakfast Club talks.
Worldwide Jess, worldwide meth.
It's
for me right here.
That's right, the Jess with the meth.
Thank you.
Because it's real, allegedly.
Exactly. Now, sources didn't reveal how much Diddy sold his shares for, but I think we're going. All right. He also claimed that Paul acquires and distributes guns and drugs for Diddy and negotiates the fees sex workers receive while working for Diddy.
There's a picture?
Yeah, it was a picture. They was in a little red room, you know what I'm saying? And his hand was on his leg, and Lil Rob is looking like, okay, is this what we giving? You know, that's what I got from the photo, but that's all allegedly, okay? Moving a little bit further.
when Harvey Weinstein was going through the same thing, I don't remember them raiding his crib like that. I don't remember them pulling up on guns and military and helicopters and boats. I don't remember all that and the super big long rifles and pistols. I don't remember that for him when they arrested him. I just thought that was just a lot of power.
I'm not here to compare anything. I'm not even gonna do the whataboutism, but I don't like any of this. Like if this stuff is true, then as you can see, Diddy will be held accountable. But to sit around and act like I enjoy hearing any of this, I don't. So when you hear Jess with the mess talking about these stories and it sounds like I don't want to talk about it, it's because I don't like seeing people's legacies destroyed, especially if we find out it's self-inflicted. It makes me think about all types of things. Why can't people get out their way? Why do we always self-destruct? Why can't people just appreciate the blessings God gives them and do right by people? If y'all take pleasure in watching people crumble, God bless you. I don't.
No.
Charlamagne has definitely grown because the Charlamagne I know was clowning the fuck out of R. Kelly. That nigga had every joke for R. Kelly, nigga. When R. Kelly was crashing and burning, it was laugh time. But Diddy, it's a little bit different. I think this is some growth by Charlamagne. Though. Some growth, you know what I mean? Like back in the day, he used to do mad fat jokes. He don't even do fat jokes anymore. So I think maybe it's growth.
I mean, either. But the sad thing is, if he's found innocent, his world is destroyed. Like he hasn't been charged. He hasn't been arrested. All we heard is these civil cases, which is the crazy part. But these civil cases are, regardless if he's found innocent or guilty, if he's found innocent, his life is destroyed.
But that's the thing. Although he wasn't the focus of the raid and the investigation at that time, they had reason to come there for that, and his kids were in cuffs. They just ain't gonna do that.
Okay.
The feds, so I think trying to read too much into timing could be problematic, particularly if they didn't find anything. I mean, what did these searches yield? Did they get any evidence? Is there anything that they obtained that would make them run before a grand jury and bring charges? I think they're going to take their time unless they've got it. And I'd be surprised if they had it yet.
A couple of things there, right? So we know that you would need probable cause for a search warrant. They did show quite the presence. Now, you could say...
Damn, this shit look like you are going after El Chapo. Like, I didn't even know police had... Yo, this is probably the only time
like a
they get to
tank
bring out this motherfucking truck. They brought it out in Miami.
Hey, yo, that truck look fire. I ain't gonna cap. That shit look... That shit look fire. That shit, this is the first time that truck ever been drove.
This is how I want my
for Diddy.
Just like this. Fuck that.
They bring out the big toys for Diddy.
And I'm reading the lawsuits, right? And you read, if you take the allegations of the lawsuits, it's true that Diddy is surrounded by weapons, that he has quite the security presence, large properties. You don't know what you're entering into. I've spoken to law enforcement experts who say it's not surprising they came with that level
you roll this whip
of military reinforcements, or they talk about military grade. But at the same time, the way that they did it.
By the way, Goddess Queen Just Me 2355, she said, Diddy did this all wrong. Why didn't he just use the swinger clubs? They would have just had sex for free. So what happened to the white girl that Diddy adopted?
I think that was a joke, right?
So all this confusion is good for Drake because now he don't got
the white girl that he adopted on that. That shit was a joke. That was like
Lucky
his neighbor or some
what's
shit.
actually outrageous is that all the artists that fell off or have bad projects over in the camp of Bad Boy literally chose homosexual hijinks over making music. Zero professionalism. Hemi says, Act, thank you for being a good journalist. Academics Gun Cleaner says, yo, Act, do you think Diddy's going to be charged? I think so. And
he's definitely got to get charged with something. Why do all this shit if you're not going to charge him?
That Diddy is going to be charged.
Get charged. Like, why?
He's going to be charged is the things that he is being accused of. It's so much allegations. Something's going to stick that they could probably get past the grand jury. Now, put it like this. I think if it was like just sexual assault, right? Say it was sexual assault of Cassie. That he might not get charged with that, right? Like it's like, yo, that has a specific definition and you have to have certain proof to prove it. They're going to be thinking about a racketeering charge, which is very loosely defined. And you see, they could indict anybody with like a RICO or racketeering, as long as you have like some type of organization that was systematically doing the crime, right? And sex trafficking, if it's true about these freak offs and they're hiring escorts and people are feeling pressured, yeah. So I do think there's going to be charges brought, just because sex trafficking and racketeering, which is what they gave to R. Kelly, those things, I don't want to say the burden of proof is less, but all the rumors about Diddy kind of go into both. And it's different if it was like, okay, yo, did Diddy shoot somebody, right? You know, like you'd have to actually prove the logistics of that to get charges or have some type of proof about
R. Kelly probably used to go to them Diddy parties with all his girls and try to act like, oh shit. Feel me? Like if anything you could say like Hugh Hefner was sex trafficking, right?
That happened to get charges brought. With this, it's kind of like where there's smoke, there's fire. Look at what's happening with Jeffrey Williams, aka Young Thug. Bro, we're just gonna tell you about every crime he's ever done, every time he threw up a fucking blood sign, and pretty much how he